Rashad Aslami has been involved in a custody battle over his 2.5-year-old daughter for about a year now.
It's hurting my relationship with my daughter because for the last year and a half, she doesn't know who I am.
His search for justice has been delayed due to the COVID-19 pandemic, like so many others. His lawyer, Rafael Muniz, says he's been trying to get a court date for 8 months to no avail.
When their cases can't be resolved because of the backlog of cases, they lose faith in the system.
The court's now preparing to deal with more cases and less judges.
This is unprecedented.
Justice Fernando Tapia is one of 46 state Supreme Court justices being forced to retire in New York, and now one of the plaintiffs in an age discrimination lawsuit against the state. Tapia sits on the bench in the Bronx Supreme Court civil term, which has a backlog of at least 29,970 cases, according to the Office of Court Administration.
Everyone's going to be crushed with the weight of all those cases that are going to be coming. It was common for me to sit on trials and preside over trials that were 8 to 9 years old.
New York judges are required by law to retire at 70. But elected state Supreme Court justices like Tapia are permitted to ask for recertification for additional 2-year terms up until age 76. Judges are typically recertified so long as they are physically and mentally sound and the courts still need them. But Tapia was denied that extension, a devastating ruling on his career.
No, they just said they're old. They're 70. They're 70 years old. They have to go. Judges are the ones that drive the train. So when you go to the train and you cut the locomotive, what do?
We want elected judges.
Tapia is not riding off into the sunset.
We will not stand for it.
He's fighting back with the help of the Bronx, the borough he's served in, lived in for 60 years of his life, and the county slated to lose the most judges out of any in the state, with 8 being forced into retirement.
Governor Cuomo!
Former NYPD detective and now candidate for City Council District 11, Carlton Berkeley,
Stop suppressing our vote!
helping organize a protest outside Governor Cuomo's New York City office last month.
These judges are from the neighborhoods. People know them. All right? They have a connection. All right? And the most part is they were elected.
The Office of Court Administration tells us it was forced to cut the 46 judges because the courts face a 10% budget reduction due to the pandemic. OCA says some newly elected justices and appointed acting justices will take up the pending caseloads the 46 judges leave behind. But they could not tell us how many, saying it could differ in each county.
For many years, the Office of Court Administration has made it a policy that they could appoint judges from the lower courts as acting Supreme Court justices.
State Assemblyman and Judiciary Committee Chairman Jeffrey Dinowitz says appointing judges from the lower courts would not be an effective solution in this case.
That means you're emptying out those courts. So any way you slice it, we're going to have 46 fewer judges, 46 empty courtrooms, and many people who are going to have to wait a lot longer.
He proposes increasing taxes on the wealthy and waiting for more federal relief to close the budget gap rather than getting rid of judges like Tapia, a decision getting bipartisan pushback.
OCA just made this blanket cut. Instead of doing it with a scalpel surgically, it did it with a meat axe.
Chief Judge Janet DeFiore requested an independent review of racial bias in the court system last June. It found in the Bronx, where over 85% of the population is non-white, only 57% of the judiciary are people of color. The review also stated the election of judges tends to benefit the Black and Latinx communities. Justice Tapia, who was elected, is one of several judges of color being forced to retire. Some judges fear giving OCA the opportunity to appoint more judges will result in diminishing diversity. That's also a concern for this community activist.
It impacts the Black and minority neighborhoods more than any other neighborhood.
2 lawsuits have been brought against the state. Judges are now suing for age discrimination, citing their extensive experience on the bench. A spokesman for the Office of Court Administration responds to the lawsuits by saying, in part, they are all about 46 senior judges with six-figure pensions and health benefits refusing to relinquish their positions. Their lack of shared sacrifice would result in 324 court clerks and court officers, all of whom have reported to work throughout this pandemic, being laid off. The judges picked up wins when a Suffolk County court hearing their case decided in their favor the last week of December. Justice Paul Baisley called the state's decision to lay off the judges unconstitutional and a violation of New York's human rights law, adding that OCA's position, quote, smacks of such alien concepts as to the divine right of kings and papal infallibility. But the Office of Court Administration appealed that decision, telling us it believes the courts will ultimately rule in their favor. Justice Tapia hopes the court ultimately makes the right decision.
The court system is here not to satisfy lawyers, not to satisfy judges, not to satisfy police officers, but to the everyday man and woman who works and lives and breathes in this community.
And for Aslami, a properly working court system means potentially seeing his daughter again one day.
Hopefully they can find a way that we could all come together and speak and talk about the case in front of a judge.
For News 12, I'm Anthony Carlo.